Today is December 15, 2021. My name is Rob Carr of Kalamazoo Right to Life, and this is Pro-Life Week. Well, I heard the other day that California Governor Gavin Newsom wants to pass a bill that is in a convoluted way similar to the Texas heartbeat law. Trust me, the California law has nothing to do with abortion, nothing at all. Newsom is a very pro-abortion politician. What he wants to do is pass a law that would ban certain kinds of firearms in California. And then the bill would stipulate that private citizens could basically track down neighbors and other people who own guns to try to find out if the gun owner owns a now illegal gun. And if that's the case, that the good neighbor could turn his neighbor in. And if the neighbor is convicted of possessing a now illegal firearm, that the other person could receive a $10,000 cash award. And see, the similarity is that in the Texas law, private citizens are permitted to expose people who have aided and abetted a woman getting an abortion after the fetal heartbeat is detected, like after the 6th week of pregnancy. And if a person is convicted of helping a woman get that later abortion, that the person who turns them in could receive a $10,000 reward. So that's the similarity. The difference I see is between the two, and I'm not a constitutional scholar by any means, but the difference I see is that the right to bear arms shall not be abridged or infringed is right in the Constitution. It's in the Second Amendment. The wording is right there for all to see. But nowhere in the Constitution is there a right to have an abortion. Nowhere is that right articulated or spelled out in one single word. There's nothing. So, and how did we get abortion? By the decision of 7 men in the Roe v. Wade decision. They decided. You know, it's not in the Constitution. Those 7 men decided what was going to be the law of the land, and abortion became legal. So 7 people gave us legal abortion, not the Constitution. So I don't see that going anywhere. I see more of a publicity stunt. But in California, you know, crazier things have happened out there. So I wouldn't be surprised if he has the bill introduced and it even passes. So be aware of that down the pike. The second item I want to talk about has to do with the right to disobey a law that you find immoral or perhaps illegal. And this has to do, I'm going to bring some things, some historical comparisons in this little discussion. Vice President Kamala Harris has said that Roe v. Wade is a non-negotiable item. So you can't negotiate that right away from women. Women should have that right to abort their child. They should have reproductive freedom. Abortion is health care. You know, you can't take away your health care. You know, all on and on and on. This kind of an argument. And then she also said that if the Dobbs case is upheld by the Supreme Court, that women will die. Women will die because they will be seeking illegal abortions. Well, I mean, if you look back in history, after World War II, with the advent of penicillin, like I mentioned last week on our previous discussion last week, the number of women dying from illegal abortions dropped drastically after the war, and by 1972, only 39 women had died from illegal abortions. And I consider that a high number, but it's nowhere near the number of babies being killed in abortions in 1973 and then thereafter. But in the history lesson here, in 1850, the country was dealing with a lot of issues, and many of them had to deal with slavery. The extension or expansion of slavery, or from the North's point of view, ways to block it from expanding. And after the Mexican War, the U.S. picked up a lot of new territory, all the southwestern states. After the California Gold Rush, California had so many new settlers that they were able to request admission as a free state. Well, at that time, you had 15 slave states and 15 free states. So the admission of California would tip the balance of power in favor of the anti-slavery cause in Congress. So the South didn't like that. Meanwhile, the state of Texas had inherited a lot of territory, half of New Mexico, a good portion of Colorado, and a little bit of Wyoming. And the federal government was trying to take that away from them. And they didn't like that. And then you had the North wanted to ban slavery in the District of Columbia. So you had, and the South wanted to make the 1793 Fugitive Slave Act even stronger than ever before. Basically a new law, which the North opposed. So they couldn't agree on one big bill to incorporate all these factors. So they passed them as separate bills. So well, here's the outcome. California was admitted as a free state, so the balance of power did shift. Texas was given $10 million as compensation, and they lost that half of New Mexico, the big chunk of Colorado, and a smidgen of Wyoming. In the District of Columbia, the slave trade was abolished, but not slavery. So there was a compromise there. And then in states like Nevada, Utah, part of Colorado, Arizona, and New Mexico, slavery could be permitted or banned based on what was called popular sovereignty. The citizens of each local territory would decide for themselves if they wanted to permit slavery or ban it. And then last was the Fugitive Slave Act that was passed. And that's what we're going to talk about today, the Fugitive Slave Act. Many, many states in the North vehemently opposed the Fugitive Slave Act. In many jurisdictions, remember cities or counties, if they found that a slave catcher had gone north into their area to hunt down runaway slaves, they would beat them up, send them backpacking, or they would not let them into their jurisdiction. There were, at that time, the Underground Railroad was spiriting hundreds, if not thousands, of runaway slaves up through the north into Canada, which at that time was had banned slavery. So that was as long as you were out of the clutches of the slave catcher, you were safe. So Canada was the destination for a lot of these runaway slaves, and Michigan was a large haven for runaway slaves, going through Underground Railroad stops in like Schoolcraft, Marshall, Battle Creek, Jackson, Detroit, and other places. A lot of safe havens in Michigan for the Underground Railroad. But people in the North, they opposed, not only did they oppose the Fugitive Slave Act, they disobeyed it. They disobeyed the law. And, for Vice President Harris to say basically that if Roe's overturned, that women will disobey the law and have illegal abortions. Well, it's somewhat of a false equivalency, because when the North disobeyed the Fugitive Slave Act, they did it because they knew slavery was wrong. Slavery was immoral. Slavery was degradation of the worst kind. What was slavery? It was bondage. It was generational bondage. Slaves were treated like animals. They could be bought or sold. They were considered less than human. It was horrible. And slavery can be compared to abortion, because what is the unborn baby, or how is the unborn baby viewed by the pro-abortion movement? Either it doesn't exist, it's a collection of cells, a blob of tissue, it's not human, which is strange to say that, because if the father is human and the mother is human, then the offspring is human. I mean, that's just kind of basic. But to the pro-abortion people, it's not human. Clearly, it's not a person. So, and the unborn baby has absolutely no rights whatsoever, and the mother can choose to give it life or allow it to die through abortion. The mother has that right over that child's life or death. And boy, I see a huge difference between abortion, the killing of babies, and the right of women to call that health care. Abortion kills children. Abortion kills babies. And there's no getting around that. So for Vice President Harris to say that women will break the law, well, I think back 20 years, 25 years when Operation Rescue type organizations were trying to shut down abortion clinics and got arrested because they were trying to use civil disobedience to prevent doctors from killing babies. Were they breaking the law? Yeah, they were breaking the law. But there was a certain level of moral integrity to their decision to try to prevent a doctor from killing a baby. So, and I'm not necessarily justifying Operation Rescue and all of their tactics either, but their goal was to save lives. Their goal was to save babies. And the pro-abortion movement's goal is to take lives, is to take babies' lives for profit. Don't forget, there's always a money angle in this. There's a lot of money in killing babies. And even though I'm sure the Planned Parenthood people say, well, they have a lot of moral integrity and we're trying to help women, the bottom line is they're making millions and millions of dollars killing babies. Well, with that, I'll let you go. I'll see you next time.